I'm here with Doug Mays, who is running in the Republican primary for 2nd District Congress, and let's get right to it.
Okay.
Doug, if that's okay with
Sure,
you.
good to be here.
I watched the ad on your YouTube page, or the video, and you started off by talking about political correctness. You said, quote, "It continues to stifle First Amendment free speech and will be the death of America as we know it," unquote. Talk about that. What's an example of political correctness that you don't like seeing?
Political correctness is an effort, usually from the liberal colleges, but it's an effort to control what we say and to make people feel guilty for being really honest about their feelings. I don't think it's the most important issue in America, but it's one that's kind of gotten under my skin a little bit because, you know, when we're so politically correct on campuses that some don't allow people who have a conservative point of view to even come and speak on campus. And that's happened all over the country. That's wrong. I mean, university campuses are supposed to be the bastion of free speech, and many times anymore they're not. It's just that I was raised to not, to be nice to people, and to not make fun of people, and not to belittle people, particularly for things that's not their fault. But when you have to be so careful in what you say, it kind of gets in the way. What you say, what gets in the way is how you say it. I think that we have the First Amendment that says that we should be able to express ourselves as we want. And political correctness, I think what I said was taken to its full extent, could be the death of America as we know it. It won't be the death of America, it's just America won't be the same.
Now, was that political correctness gone too far when KU had a flag that people didn't like, and it was taken down by KU?
No, that wasn't political correctness. Being condemned for objecting to the flag, that's political correctness. And some were condemned by others for not saying it's okay to desecrate the flag and fly it on a flagpole.
I want to move over to trade. You know the 2nd District as well as all the other candidates.
Sure, the 3 hometowns.
Right. A lot of farmers in the 2nd District. Soybeans is an important product. So at some of the forums, I know some farmers are concerned about a possible trade war. How will they come out of that? What do you say to farmers who are a little nervous about what's coming around the bend if there is a trade war in America?
Well, first thing I say is they're probably on the right track. If we have a full-blown trade war, food will eventually come into it. I mean, we're big exporters of grains and beef, too. And farmers are unique in that they have no way to raise the prices of the items that they sell, the commodities, and they have no control over how much things cost that they have to buy to produce. So it kind of goes both ways with them. If commodity prices end up dropping because of that, because of trade sanctions or tariffs, that's bad for them. And if the price of steel works its way down to implements, then they'll have to pay more for new equipment and things like barbed wire, And that's going to really put the squeeze on an already fragile sector of our markets.
So if you're in Congress and you might if you have to go up against your own party, for example, you're willing to do it if the farmers might be affected in the 2nd District? Well,
the first job of a congressperson is to represent their district. It would be how severe it is and if I think Congress can actually do something. Now, right now, there are Republicans and Democrats that want to do something. I'm hoping that this president has a plan and that plan will play out without a full-blown trade war and without commodities being part of it.
I have here some mailers from Lynn Jenkins that, as you can see, they're from 2010. And
wow.
In the mailers, she's complaining about the debt. Since these mailers, the debt's gone up quite a bit. It's now at $21 trillion. So I have a two-part question. Does the debt really matter? And two, given that this has been going on for years, should voters be skeptical of a candidate in the 2nd District that says, oh, we can get the debt down?
I have not said we can get the debt down. This debt is out of control, very close to going exponential. You know, if you know anyone that's had credit card problems, or you've had credit card problems yourself, you know that that debt goes along like this for a while, and then it turns like this, and then it goes straight up. And that is what's going on with the debt. I think when the Obama administration came around, it was about $8 billion, somewhere around there, and it continues to go up, even in this administration. The fact is that the Pentagon was asked 1 or 2 years ago, what are the number one, number two, and so on down the line threats to national security? And I believe the number one national security wasn't Russia, it wasn't China, it was the debt and the deficit that creates the debt. It's difficult to figure out how we can get out of this without some draconian measures. But if Congress could just somehow figure out a way to not increase the spending in times when the economy is growing, we can maybe at least slow it down and maybe get control of it. But if we go much longer and it begins to gobble up more and more and more of our gross national product, we're in trouble. We're in big trouble. And if it hits 25, 30 billion, trillion dollars, our economy will collapse, and I imagine the world economy will collapse with it.
Yeah, trillions of dollars.
Bad
pretty amazing.
Things could happen.
I recently saw a statistic which was remarkable. Since the year 2000, 183,000 people have died from prescription opioid overdoses, which is a remarkable statistic.
It is remarkable.
What do you see behind this? Why is this happening? And is there anything Congress or the federal government can do?
I think Congress and the federal government are both looking at it now. I know Congress is engaged in some things, and it's my understanding that some of the different branches of the government, from the CDC to the Department of Health, and there are 2 or 3 others that are actually in Surgeon General looking at this, trying to figure out, you know, is it what role do the prescription drug, the pharmaceutical companies have in it? What role does the medical community have in it, and so on? You know, it's not just about opioids, it's what happens after the opioids run out. And most people, not most people, but an awful lot of people turn to heroin, and they're overdosing. Now, I will tell you, I had a surgery about 2 years ago, and it was fairly, I would say pain-free, but a lot less pain than I thought. And I gave them strict orders. I do not want opioids. I don't care how much it hurts. I don't want them. And when I got home, my wife produced this bottle about the size of a small can of Coke, these small cans now, about that size, full of opioids. There were 100 pills. By street value, probably $10,000. You know, I looked at that, and I said, "What the hell is this?" She said, "Well," they said, "in case you needed that, in case of the pain." And I think the medical industry has been taught for years and years and years. It's very important to mitigate your patient's pain. And the opioids came along. They do a wonderful job of that, but there's this terrible side effect. You do get, if you take them very long, you get hooked. And then when you can't get them anymore, a lot of people go looking for something else, and that's where heroin comes in.
Yeah, it's amazing. On the issue of guns, we've talked a bit about the First Amendment. There's obviously limits on the First Amendment, free speech. What sort of limits should there be on the Second Amendment, if any? Well,
I haven't looked at any, and I haven't seen any suggested limits that would do much, but there are things we can do. If you look at the shootings, these have been people mostly who have mental disorders. And I do think that and surely there are other categories of individuals that have bought guns, that we need to beef up the background checks. I think that's just has to happen. Second, and I know this sounds trite because everyone's saying it, but we have to also find some really secure ways to protect our schools. As long as people think they can just walk in, pull a shotgun out from under a trench coat and start blasting away, there's always someone that's going to do that. They have to be, and I think that's where the states have to stand up. The states have got to come up with the money to make our schools secure. Now, arming teachers, I don't see that feasible at this time. If you had teachers that are trained and want to have a gun that they won't let out of their personal possession, and maybe that's something to look at. But first, we need security and the background checks.
Literally 15 seconds, so really quick.
Okay.
The 2nd district, some people call it a swing district. Why are you a good choice to win this? Why do you think you should win this primary for the Republicans and then win it?
I think with the leadership, being a former Speaker of the House, I've only been 68 at the time, and I was only the 6th one that had ever been elected to a 2nd term. I think with my leadership background and my ability to and my knowledge of the district, I think I could do a really good job in D.C., particularly from day one. You go in cold. I don't care if you've been a member of the legislature. If you don't have leadership experience, you're going to be lost for about a year. I can do it from day one.
All right. Thank you so much, and reminder to vote on August 7th, and thanks so much for visiting with us.
Thank you.